are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Your San Antonio Spurs continue to tinker with the roster, adding new players. Is this much ado about nothing, or maybe a sign of things to come? Welcome back to Locked On Spurs on the Locked On NBA Network. I am Jeff Garcia, Spurs beat writer for KENS 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. And yeah, we're going to be discussing the Spurs' recent flurry of signings. One of them is kind of obvious. They signed one of their three rookies. We'll discuss that in a bit. And also, we're going to be looking at Brett Brown. He's back on the sidelines with Popovich, but he had a very interesting interview on a podcast recently talking about the timing of his return to San Antonio. Is our guest buying or selling that? And who is he? He is Rudy Campos with Sweep the League. Rudy, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. And I got to tell you, man. Well, I got to ask you first. How are we looking at a bad season? Should you just tell fans right now, get ready for a bad season next year?
Yeah, I mean, if the writing's on the wall, which the writing is on the wall, I would say expect a very difficult season. Just kind of go in with the mind of these guys are really trying and developing. That's probably the best way to easily put it.
I thought we've been developing for how long now? How long has this team been developing?
Oh God, we've been developing for quite some time, man. Since the departure of Kawhi and LaMarcus, and I would even consider even when DeMar was here that we were still in a developmental stage.
Yeah, I think maybe the bubble year was when the Spurs started to raise the white flag a bit. Because remember, didn't Popovich say, "Don't ask me about making playoffs. I'm not here to even thinking about that. We're just here to develop." So yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, they finally did it. They finally pulled that Band-Aid off. But how are you doing? And by the way, how is training He-Man? I heard you've been putting him through some rigorous training.
I've been doing pretty good, kind of laying low a little lately, trying to get some stuff figured out, and a lot of it is with training with the Masters of the Universe cast. I've got He-Man in check. Skeletor has been giving me some issues, but I'll tell you what, wait till you see that buff body we got Orko in.
I imagine. I'm kidding with Rudy because he's been on this mission to lose weight, man. You've lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, I officially weighed in at 219 this morning. So
way to go, dude. Way to go. Way to go. Way to go. Way to go. Good job. Good job.
Thanks,
well, keep on keeping on and keep on getting yourself healthy. Let's go ahead and dive into things right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos. And let's talk about the sign. Let's get rid of the kind of obvious one first. Just your quick thoughts on it, and then we'll move on to the juicier ones. And that is the Spurs officially announced that they have signed one of their three rookies, Blake Wesley. He was a 25th pick overall in the first round. Guard, Notre Dame. Kind of obvious, but what are you expecting from Blake now that you know that this team is in a rebuild and odds are that he may not be in Austin maybe that long after all?
Yeah, with Blake Wesley being the first guy off the board to sign his contract, I expect him to be in Austin probably 60 to 70% of the year. That doesn't mean he's not going to be on the Spurs roster. I think he's going to be one of those players where you're going to see him bounce back and forth, and the Spurs have 3 days off, but Austin has 2 games during there. He's probably going to be in Austin playing those games and then probably get called right back up to the Spurs. So typical two-way guy. He's going to probably end up being called up, called down a lot. So it's just part of the development. Blake Wesley is going to be a really good player. He just has to learn control, and that's something that he's going to be able to develop in Austin with the coaching staff down there. As great as the thing that they do down there developing players, once he learns control, I think he'll fit right into like a backup point guard position.
Yeah, I'm right there. I do disagree with you somewhat. I think you'll probably see Blake more in the San Antonio uniform than an Austin uniform, because if they're going all out on this rebuild tank mode, quote unquote, then throw him out there. What do you got to lose other than gaining lottery odds? And I get it, it's tapped out at 14%, but you want that 14% of your San Antonio. I like Blake. I got a chance to talk with him the moment he got drafted by San Antonio. I like the fact that he told me that he is very aware, and he made no bones about it, Rudy, that his shot needs work.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, he goes, I know I'm a bad shooter, but hopefully Chip can get with him, huh?
Oh yeah, his shot is it's a work in progress. But what I love about Blake is that not only does he get to work with Chip, he's got a high motor. So I mean, he's not necessarily Russell Westbrook, but he can get to the basket. He can get buckets. He can actually play some pretty good defense. If he works on his jump shot, he's going to be a pretty good roster fill for the Spurs. And the reason why I say because you still got Josh Primo's probably going to end up being that starting point guard. You've got Jones right behind him. So Blake may get lost in the shuffle for a little bit there, but like I said, I do expect him to be on the roster for a good part of the season.
All right. Good luck to Blake. He'll get his NBA debut ish at the summer league that starts tomorrow. I can't believe summer league's already here. It starts tomorrow out in Las Vegas. So yeah, you'll definitely get a chance to see one of the Spurs 3 rookies. Hopefully, the fact that the other 2 aren't signed doesn't mean any type of more movement, Rudy. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and talk about some of the other signings. The first one to go down was they brought back a familiar face. Gorgui Dieng is back in San Antonio. Center, longtime veteran, played with the Spurs. What was it? Not last year, the year before.
Yeah, a couple years
Real
ago.
quick, it was like for like a half a season ish. Known for hit the deep three. As mentioned, as a veteran, will bring a veteran presence to the squad. Very workmanlike. I remember when he was signed, he did his media round a few years ago. He was like, I'm just here to work. I'm just here to work. So, but nevertheless, we know he can do because Spurs fans seen him in action, and whether in San Antonio or elsewhere. The question is, as a center, there's a guy on the roster that has an expiring contract, Jakob Pertl. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Much to do about nothing. This signing, is it just one of those, hey, we're just bringing some bargain basement players to fill the roster spot? Or is this something to keep an eye on? Whether it be flipping him, in a package or keeping him long term, at least this season.
I don't think the Spurs are done quite here in the offseason. Now, you may not hear anything in the offseason as far as any more moves go, but I think they're going to be major players when it comes to the trade deadline this season. So a signing like Dang actually kind of raised my eyes a little bit, but not as much as their second signing that we'll talk about here in a minute. Once they got that second guy signed, I was like, okay, the writing is on the wall for Jakob. I really do expect that Jakob might be on the move, like I said, if not in the offseason, probably right before the trade deadline. But with Dane coming back, it's just a signing basically that says, hey, we're bringing in players. We've got to actually fill the cap space. We got to completely get rid of the cap space. So bring in some veterans, just kind of fill the void. Let's get to this season and see where we land. But good thing about Dang is that he kind of spreads the floor a little bit with his outside shot. He's a very good hard worker, and as Spurs fans have realized, he can really fit the Spurs mold going into the season.
He is Rudy Con Sweep the League. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. And thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. We're talking about the Spurs' recent signings. That is, they announced that they have signed rookie Blake Wesley and Gorgui Dieng. So speaking of Dieng, I see it more as insurance policy. Maybe just the fact that Jock was part of the deal with oh god, who did he get traded to? Oh, Atlanta. Sorry, excuse me.
Atlanta. Yeah.
And yeah, maybe that he's just filling Jock's spot. I mean, he's a guy that's familiar with the Spurs system. I lean that this particular signing is nothing more than just that, beefing up that big man department, especially in the middle, bringing in some size, bringing in a guy who's been there, done that. So now, as of now, it's Jakob, Zach Collins, and Gorgui Dieng. It's similar to what it was before Jock got dealt. So I'm right there with you. I do definitely see him as being a flippable piece down the road. I do agree with that. I can see something, whether it be now in the offseason or ahead of the trade deadline in season. So something to keep an eye on. But there was another signing that the Spurs picked up, and this one really, really perked Rudy's ears when the Spurs made the announcement. The Spurs signed off waivers former Thunder Isaiah Roby forward. still young. I don't know, not even his prime years. Guy's a bucket. But why did this one perk you up? Why did this one make you go, And remember CNC Music Factory? Things that make you go, Why did it make you
Yeah.
do that, Rudy?
Well, and Isaiah Roby's not a guy that you particularly say, "Oh, let me take a second glance, let me overlook this again. Maybe I missed something." Unless you really truly know him. I mean, you're talking about a guy from 0 to 5 feet from the basket. He's almost a guaranteed bucket. Likes to dunk everything. Had a 20, I think 17 or 26 point game against the Spurs. Put up, I
Of
believe,
course.
30 against the Blazers at one
Yeah.
point. So towards the end of the year, he was actually balling. What this for me, the signing here was okay. You went outside Dang, you have Collins, you go in and get Roby. Something's got to give now. I don't expect Roby to actually be in Austin maybe the
Mm-hmm.
entire year, but I really feel that this kind of signing shows that okay, we're getting a little bit younger at that big position. Yes, he's only 6'8", but he plays like he's 7'2", 7'3". He plays really
Mm-hmm.
big, very active around the basket. So when he got signed, that's what told me, okay, you've got two big men under contract. Now you can afford to possibly move Jakob quicker than expected. That's why I say we may see something with Jakob coming up here in the offseason, but definitely by the trade deadline. Really good signing by the Spurs. I really like it. He's a really young kid. Like I said, unless you really dive deep into basketball, you're probably thinking, this is just another guy that's going to be in Austin. But I think this is a guy that's going to be on the active roster come day one.
He is Rudy Campos. He is with Sweep the League, and he is right here on Locked On Spurs. When we get back, we're going to definitely continue talking more about the Roby signing. If Rudy believes the Spurs are not done wheeling and dealing in the near future, and much, much more. But I want to talk to you about Rock Auto. This episode was brought to you by Rock Auto. With ever increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning while you wait for the person in front of you to finish their deal, or you have to wait in a long line? Look, don't go through all that. You have access to computers. Go to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and those Rock Auto prices are reliably low for each and every customer. They have everything you can want: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, new carpet, you name it, they likely will have it. Go explore their easy to use website today and find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. And write Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box so they know that we sent you? An amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Rockauto.com. We're back with Rudy Campos right here on Locked On Spurs. Follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League and get some fitness tips from him. You must be a library now of how to lose weight. Like, you probably cracked the code already.
Somewhat for my sake, yeah. I've actually done a couple of lectures, surprisingly, for
Get out
a
for
group.
real.
Yeah, I have. I've done a couple of talks. People really interested, groups of like 50 to 60 people, and yeah, I've locked on a little bit of what it comes on to losing weight. But again, it's not my way. Doesn't work for everybody. Chances are, it probably won't work for certain people. The discipline of it is really hard, but I mean, it shows that it does work. So it's different for everybody, though.
So not only are you getting a guy who knows the Spurs stuff right here in Locked On Spurs, you're getting fitness tips. That's where you got to follow Rudy on Twitter at Sweep the League. I mean, he trains He-Man, for goodness sake. He-Man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
I've trained He-Man lately. After in August, actually, I got signed by the GI Joe, so Duke, Flint, and all them are gonna be in my gym now.
Hey, I heard Mumra also caved in and took your advice, because that dude is shredded when he is Jack
Yeah,
Mumra, yeah,
yeah.
not old man
Well,
Mumra.
I'm a trainer for villains, so I'm working on Destro here at the end of the year.
Just not his head, right? Like his neck muscles. Sometimes bodybuilders train their neck muscles because he just steel in the head. All right, well, let's.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, congratulations again, and way to go.
Thanks.
But let's go to continue our chat about the Spurs' recent signings. Roby, yeah, I like it. I think it was a steal for the Spurs to pick him up. I'm still scratching my head why OKC just waived him. Well, great, for the Spurs. But again, I guess because the Spurs are in this rebuild phase, I must be brainwashed or something. All I can think of is flip them. Like, I don't know why I'm like that. Flip them, like flip them, turn them around. Okay, let's strip the studs down. Let's break down the foundation. Let's keep on doing this rebuild. Keep on bringing on picks. But do you think he's a player the Spurs should keep on maybe longer than what many expect? Do you see this guy sticking around in San Antonio?
Yeah, an easy comparison, if Chip can get a hold of him and develop that jump shot, go back into the days, man, where an unforgotten hero was with the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, think about Malik Rose. This guy is like Malik Rose. He's going to do the dirty work. He's going to get you boards. He's going to be underneath the basket. He's going to make a difference in some games the way Malik did back in the day. He just has to develop a little consistent jumper, kind of hit it, from 10, 15 feet, and you're going to see the same style of player there. I mean, you've got to remember, San Antonio Spurs championship teams were built on guys that did the dirty work. Malik Rose, Jaren Jackson, those guys right there. This is the way Isaiah
Mhm.
Roby plays. He's exactly like a Malik Rose type of player if he can just get that consistent jump shot developed.
Look at some of the numbers. Last season with OKC, 10.1 points per game, just a turnover a game. That's pretty good. 1.6. Well, it's just a turnover ratio ain't that great, but 1.6 assist, 4.8 rebounds, shot the ball 51% from the field and 44% from the three line, albeit he only attempted 2 per game and made 1. So he doesn't really take many 3-point
Mm-hmm.
shots. And those were, again, career high in points, and also a career high I think it was, the 3-point shooting, 44%. So took a dramatic leap, in his second year in the NBA, shooting 29% to 44. So, he's getting better. That's a sign that it's on the right path. But just his third year in the NBA. Rookie season kind of is a wash. He only played 3 games in 2019-20. This guy has potential. Do you see him becoming the sixth man of the team?
Ooh, that's a good question. I can't say not right now, but maybe down the line he could be first off the bench. I really truly believe, depending on what the Spurs do, I really feel that Isaiah Roby, maybe a year or so down the line, if he's still with the Spurs, can be their starting power forward. I mean, no doubt about
Mhm.
it. The kid has a lot of talent. Being that he could be the sixth man off the first guy off the bench, definitely can see that. I don't see it happening maybe this season or next, but with the right development, I really truly feel he'd be the first guy off the bench, if not a starter for the San Antonio Spurs later on.
Right. Yeah. But you're right. You're talking about this before the break. About that's the guy. That's the signing that made you scratch your head like, what's going on? Because if you look
Mm-hmm.
at the forward center spot right now, it's Roby, Sohan, Pirtle, McDermott, Bates Diop, Collins, and Gorgui Dieng. Oh, and by the way, there's probably several other guys that are going to be knocking on the door in the summer league. I think
Mm-hmm.
of Darius Days.
Woodard.
There's definitely a logjam. Who's that? Woodard. Thank you, Woodard.
Yeah.
Robert Woodard the third, or the second. Well, Robert Woodard. Yeah, I love his game. If you saw him in Austin last year, woof, guy can
Yeah.
ball. I mean, he's a brute. What does this tell you? This has to signal that this is probably the next position to take a major shuffle, to take a major roster movement, if you will, Rudy. From the people who invented healthy and tasty comes the latest gift for your taste buds. You probably tried the amazing coconut brownie chunk Built Bar, but guess what? Your friends at Built have given coconut brownie chunk the puff treatment. That's right, the coconut brownie chunk Built Bar flavor you love in a deliciously chewy marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. It's like a fluffy cloud of coconut brownie goodness. Stop drooling and listen. They are good for you. Low calorie, low sugar, high protein, all deliciousness. The coconut brownie chunk puffs are only here for a limited time. So go to built.com right now to make sure you don't miss out. They're going fast because they taste amazing. Now, all built bars are made with collagen protein. That basically means it absorbs faster into your body more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. Now, the best part about Built Puffs is, of course, they taste amazing, but you can enjoy them guilt-free. They are actually good for you. They are the perfect treat, perfect when you got a craving. You need to satisfy with your sweet tooth, or if you need a quick, healthy snack, they are an excellent source of protein. Delicious coconut-rich sweet brownie, creamy marshmallow. Stop fantasizing. Get to built.com right now to order your box of coconut brownie chunk Built Puffs right now. Go to built.com. Use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. Promo code LOCK15.
Yeah, and the two guys that were mentioned are probably Jakob and Doug McDermott. I mean, if you're going to throw Jakob in a deal to sweeten it even more, you're probably going to throw in Doug McDermott only because you get a shooter and an inside presence, something that a lot of contending teams are actually looking for. It's possible you see those two guys move, and it kind of clears that logjam a little bit more. With Jeremy Sohan, he's probably going to get that starting nod, depending on how he does over the summer and if he gets better, from I guess health and safety protocol. I think you might see him taking that starting spot eventually. He may be off, maybe the sixth man off the bench, but then you got to remember Zach Collins. He did come back. He had a pretty okay season for the San Antonio Spurs, but his injury plague is always there. It's always in the back of your mind. So kind of got to worry about that. So that's why I see guys like Roby. And, depending on injuries too, you could see guys like Woodard basically come up from Austin and make their names here in San Antonio. But right now it's a good problem to have for the San Antonio Spurs, a position that we've been, seeing a very big problem for them. Now to have a logjam, it's not a bad thing at all.
What I like about Roby is he's a switchable guy. Like he obviously can play the 4, maybe the 5, but he could probably defend the 3. He's versatile. I like that. And if you read the tea leaves from what Brian Wright has been saying this offseason, that he's really emphasizing positionless basketball a lot whenever he speaks with media. Positionless basketball. Look at the Warriors. Look at the Celtics. Well, maybe not the Celtics because they had Robert Williams, but for the most part, the Warriors, the champs right now, didn't really play a traditional big. So, So it's interesting. Yeah, I like Roby. Good signing. A lot of upside. We'll see what happens to him in that position as the offseason continues marching forward. And speaking of the offseason, the Spurs brought back Brett Brown, former assistant coach with San Antonio back in the day. It's been a while since he's been coaching, but he is back, and he got a chance to speak with a podcast. I'm going to get that name of it for you right now. I think it's Selecting Ricky Sanchez. I think it's something like that. But, he was talking about returning to San Antonio. And, for the most part, he just said that it came down to him just missing the game, missing being on the sidelines. Oh, by the way, quickly, that podcast, I can give the proper credit to, is The Rights to Ricky Sanchez. So there you go. Funny. I got to find out why they call that show The Rights to Ricky Sanchez. But nevertheless, he just said, quote, "I want to coach again. I miss the competition. I love coaching basketball. It's what I know best. I hope I still have stuff to offer. I think that I will come back smarter, better, and stronger." Okay, so for the most part, he's saying he missed it, but they asked him, interesting. You're coming on to the Spurs during a rebuild. And by the way, Brett Brown, you were coaching a team that was in the midst of a rebuild back in the day, Philadelphia 76ers. Remember, that was an injured Joel Embiid. That was still a very young Ben Simmons. The team was obviously rebuilding for the future. A similar scenario that's unfolding right now with the rebuilding Spurs. So they asked him that, and he says, no. It just happened to be a byproduct. So this is what he said, Rudy. Quote, "I think it ended up being a byproduct of where the team evolved to. Pop and I have been talking for a while. This wasn't something that just came out of left field. We had been talking for a while, so that kind of thing was already in place." He even mentioned about the DeJounte Murray trade. He said that, no, that Murray trade happened while we were discussing my return. And then he goes on to say, quote, I do think I can help steer some of the things along. I love player development. Buying or selling, that it just happened to bring him back during a period of transition for the Spurs? Or are you buying the fact that maybe he is saying the truth, that no, it just happened to be talking to him and hey, the Spurs in a rebuild now?
I'm actually buying the fact that he just so happened to come during a rebuild. I look at Brett Brown's Philadelphia years. I mean, he missed, I think, the playoffs the first 3 or 4 years. Then he took him to the conference semifinals the next 2 years. But if you really peel back the curtain, pull it back, Brett was kind of given the shaft in Philadelphia. I mean, you had the Embiid injury.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons was never going to be the true superstar that they, truly were wanting. But then you also had high draft picks of Markelle Fultz when they passed up on Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Then you go and get Jahlil Okafor. I mean, the talent was there, but when you've got two failed products in Okafor and Fultz, and I think what it was the front office there just, embraced the tank and embraced, the process and everything without actually having a plan in place for the process. I think they just kind of made it up on the way. Spells, a lot for Brett Brown. Did damage to his, career as a coach. So coming back to San Antonio, I think is a really, really great thing. You and I have talked that it's a possibility he could have been be the next Spurs head coach. I mean, we talked about it in past podcasts. But with the player development part, it's a good thing. I mean, he was able to develop some players. Like I said, he took a team that was a non-playoff team for 3 or 4 consecutive seasons to the conference finals for 2 years, and then they lost in the first round of last year. So I'm buying the fact that, it just so happened to come during a rebuild. It's a really good thing. You got another guy who was a head coach, actual head coach, with some superstars around him. So it adds to the intrigue for this Spurs season going in to this season.
One thing I liked about it, and he expanded about the rebuild in Philadelphia, is that he said that he was so aware that the fans were going through that as well, seeing the team rebuild and the trusting the process, and it was taking a while, that he would go pregame and go and sit and chat with fans and talk to them. And he said that he would take every question from them. He said, no matter how good or how bad it was, he said, and he did that because he felt empathy for them. He said, like, you're going through this just as I'm going through this. Hopefully he can do that in San Antonio. So he's aware of what a rebuild is going to feel like. And Spurs fans, at least young, this generation of Spurs fans are going to definitely see it. You and I have been through this once already, in this team back in the day. Yeah, they're going to experience it for the first time. But hopefully, Brett will do things like that if it's going to be as bad as many predict it's going to be. I mean, really, the bet online odds for the Spurs winning the title are 500 to 1 right now. 500 to 1. Rudy's going to put $20 on that, I bet you. You're going to put $20 on that.
I'll put $20. It's just $20, man. You never know.
How much does that net you if you hit that? So it's just 20 times 5, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's a lot of cash for $20.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? It's funny because I tell a lot of people, you go into the off season, your team sucks. Your team's tanking. Oh, this and that. But who's to say they don't make a big blockbuster trade and then your team's right back into contention? I mean, it has happened before, not with the Spurs pretty much, but it has happened before with other teams. So why not just risk $20 to make, a good amount of cash?
All right. But going back to Brett Brown, obviously a good addition, a great hire, obviously he knows player development. He thrives in it, as he says. But yeah, I would keep that in back of my head of two things. Now, one, that he was part of a real rebuild before, maybe to bring that experience here, and also maybe take the reins if and when Popovich decides to hang it up and move on. I mean, it is just coincidental. He's back at that time too, when the Pop's career is dwindling down fast. So we shall see. And I think that's something you and I talked about too when we're discussing who's going to take over for Pop. And I said, are they going to go out? Are they going to go out of the family or stay in the family? Technically, Brett is in the family, Rudy.
He is. He's part of the family. He's 4 titles with the San Antonio Spurs. He definitely has the experience. And, I actually want to give you and everybody out in Locked On World there something to think about. He's part of a rebuild. Something like I always go down the rabbit hole with stuff, and this hit me the other night when I was thinking about it. Could this hire potentially spell Pop maybe leaving during the season and Brett taking over, kind of like an old Bob Hill, Greg Popovich type move?
Interesting.
I mean, it makes me wonder, because why are you going to go out and get a quote-unquote head coach who was just recently a head coach who has the rebuild experience? And it could spell Pop may go before the season starts, or maybe halfway during the season, Brett Brown take over, setting up maybe a Quinn Snyder type hire towards the end of the year, maybe next year. So much to think about when it comes to Brett Brown, and so much to think, when you actually look at everything. It's quite possible that's something that hit me actually thinking about it the other day.
He is Rudy Campos. He's with Sweep the League. Make sure to check him out on Twitter at Sweep the League. Tell everybody what they can expect from you and your crew at Sweep the League.
Yeah, all the Spurs news coming out. We've been covering a lot of the Spurs news on our podcast. It gets released every single Wednesday night. Right now it's kind of the off season, so we'll probably just be talking about rankings and all this other stuff, just kind of get ready for the football and basketball season, especially Summer League coming up, seeing these rookies.
I'm excited for Dominic Barlow. That's the one guy I'm going to be watching tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
the Spurs wanted a bouncy big. Guy. He is, the Spurs want a bouncy big. He's that. He's that.
Yeah,
big time.
He's good. He's good. I'm gonna say he's good. I'm excited to see him in Summer League. I'm hoping he stays on and goes into Austin and just cooks. He's like that brisket you let simmer for a long time, Jeff. Yeah. He could pan out really well.
Hey, are you buying or selling Chet Holmgren's debut in Summer League? I mean, he looks like a beast out there, but I know I get into the Summer League.
I'm gonna buy his actual debut. I know he's really, really good. Again, it's not against the top echelon of the NBA player, but cutting it in half, I mean, you're talking about a guy that went out and got, if you cut it in half, 13 points, 4 boards, and 3 blocks. So I would say definitely I'm buying it. He's going to be a really good player, but it's just the rigors of the NBA schedule that I always worry about when it comes to rookies.
He is Rudy Campos. He told you how to check him out and follow him on social media. And now it's my turn. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, and many more platforms mentioned YouTube. Now on the Ken's 5 webpage, Ken's 5 YouTube page, you can check out Locked On Spurs there. Ken's is going to get very aggressive in promoting Locked On Spurs. Actually started a couple days ago, Rudy. So they're really going to be pushing it out now. So you'll definitely be able to get this episode of Locked On Spurs and many others in the past and the future. All of them are going to be there for you to enjoy. And follow me on Twitter at JeffGSpursZone. And we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Now, for your second listen, get up to date on the latest news and rumors in the NBA in just 30 minutes every day with Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA is your daily NBA update in just 30 minutes. So for Rudy He-Man Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.